Peace, fam. I'm back. I'm back. Made that trek to Cleveland, Ohio this past weekend. It was very nice. We had a little reunion with the music school that I attended, gosh, in the late 70s to the early 80s. So it was really cool. Shout out to Rainey Institute on 55th and Superior. So it was nice to see a few people. I didn't know very many people. It definitely has changed in all the years that it's been there, but it is a wonderful um, music settlement. And it also is, they do a lot of drama now. So, by the way, I meant to get by there next time. I'll be there in a couple weeks. So, does Caramel still exist in Cleveland? I'm going to find out when I'm there next. So, last time I was here with my mom, Carrie, and we chatted about our experience of being too busy. And when you're too busy and doing too many things, you're going to mess up. That's just what's going to happen. And so today I'm going to bring with to you some responses because I had lots of questions from that experience in the emergency room, and I reached out, I threw my line out to my advocate, and I have some answers. Um, so I sent her a quite a bit of information, mostly questions. I shared with her my experience and then I asked her lots of questions. So here you go. Actually, she works for the Western Piedmont Council of Governments, which is Project CARE, CARE. Don't even get me lying. I'm not prepared to tell you what the CARE means, but caregivers, something, I'm sure. So I'll have that for you next time. How about that? But it's from the Agency on Aging. And the more I am steeped in this caregiving role, the more I learn. So while I was in Cleveland, I went out to eat with a friend. And it was really interesting because an elderly man, so I'm sitting in the restaurant and we're sitting in a booth, and an elderly man had just gone to the restroom. And when he came back, his family was right there, but in his line of sight coming out, and I don't know what his medical issue was, um, he missed his family and he kept walking. And so all I heard, I couldn't see them because we're in a high booth. All I heard was laughter, laughter. Hey, granddad. And that really like went through me. I was surprised. But here's the reason why. He ended up going across and past them, and there was like two other booths, and then there was another corner booth, and he knew he was in a corner booth, but he didn't know which corner booth. And so you could tell he was looking a little confused, and so he was walking past us, and I'm watching this, and he didn't walk like he knew where he was going, obviously. And when they yelled out to him and that brought attention, of course I looked up, and you could tell he was looking very frustrated and just didn't know where he was going. And so he got to the other booth and he knew that that wasn't his family. So he went to turn around, like looking around, very frazzled, like, I don't know where I'm going. And so a gentleman got up and came and accompanied him back to the table. So I'm sitting there like holding my hands and I was really happy. I didn't get up and say anything. However, I couldn't hold it for long. I did say something on their way out as they were leaving. And the man who went to get him, I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Is that your dad or whatever?" He said, "No, it's my wife's father." And I said, "Does he have some mental um, limitations?" And he said, "Yes, we're working." I said, "Have you all gotten him tested?" I said, "Because he looked really frazzled when he came out and he couldn't find you." He said, "Yes." And I didn't want to go into the whole, that's not a laughing thing. But within myself, I realized how in the beginning, and I didn't understand, It does seem funny. You're laughing, you couldn't remember, you don't know where you're going or whatever, but it really is not a laughing matter. And you never know how long they're going to maintain or be in that stage of their uh, mental cognition impairment. And so, some of what I've learned is to really just stay in the moment. Well, today I got frazzled. I did a long trip by myself with my mom, and it's a lot. I got to the destination and, had to quote unquote set up house, if you will. It's almost like going to an Airbnb. So even though I know it's clean, I still want to clean it myself. So after driving 7.5, more like 8 hours, yeah. And then getting dinner there and getting situated, unloading the car, all of that. It was a lot. My choice, of course, it was my choice. But it is what it is. And so I'm just sharing the experience with you. But that was something that really uh, bothered me, seeing how they dealt with him. So I don't know. That could have been a one-time thing. I don't know what it was, but it seemed like younger children. I just would hope that they would take the time to explain to them what's going on with Grandpa, and I hope he is being um, taken care of because it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, you have to pick your battles. But what the person, my advocate, um, for the agency on aging in my area included was a actually, yeah, two-pager, and medical emergency preparedness. And do you have your emergency medical file ready? And clearly, I did not have mine ready. I had parts of it because early on, when she came out to visit, she came out to the house, she gave me a whole packet of information. And I'm going to share with you some of the information. And so, I'm going to read you the introduction, and then I'm going to read you, there's several bullet points. Um, and I'm going to share with you the beginning sentences of those. And hit me up if you want more. I can also forward the file to you if you send me your email address. I would love to do that. Um, Even though it's pertaining to North Carolina, a lot of the stuff is probably pretty basic in general that your agency would probably have access to. And hopefully the sound is much better this time. So, would your family and friends know what to tell medical professionals about your care in the event of a medical emergency with you? So, this is directed at me, but as a caregiver, you can direct it at others, that the person the loved one you're taking care of, but also to yourself, because we're all going to be in this state at some point in time. Some of us may be taken sooner or later or whatever, but and different ways in which we could be taken. But a medical emergency, do you know, or are you ready to deal with that? It is something we never like to discuss, especially in the Black community. And I'm not generalizing, but I'm talking from my experience. I am not a medical professional. This whole platform is simply me sharing my journey on the um, caregiver, as a caregiver role, as well as to share the information that I find out. So, do your loved ones or your appointed decision makers know everything they need to know to ensure you receive the care that you need? Also, your loved one needs. Now, I went into the doctor's office and I saw that they had some information on having my POA, my advanced directives taken care of. And I know it's different for every state. However, I did not know that it couldn't be a blood relative or by marriage. So my spouse cannot sign off on the paperwork. It has to be a dear friend, someone that you trust to make these decisions. Do we even have someone in our circle that we could trust with the end of life? And the way people are dropping, honestly, you all, you might have to have a couple of people appointed. So my point being is, I don't have children, and so does that legacy look like for me? And that's something I really need to think long and hard about. Who is in the close vicinity of me that I could trust to make some decisions on my behalf in the event that something happens in an emergency? Okay. So, too often, we do not plan, talk about our medications, or discuss our life plan and wishes with loved ones. People just do not want to talk about or plan for needs just in case something devastating happens. In the event of a medical emergency, there are vital pieces of information that your loved ones need to ensure you receive appropriate care. It is best to create a file or notebook of information readily available for your family in the event of a medical crisis. This information needs to be easy to identify and stored in an accessible location. The list below should be helpful in what to include. Now, I just want to say, we live in a technological age. Our life is in these things, our bank accounts, our passwords, everything. Yeah, there's mom, are in these things. And so, because of the way in which we live, and we're not really in a paper society, I would recommend, putting your information, I'm not there yet, in a file, digital file. Sorry about that, y'all. As well as a um, hard copy file. And so the thing is, where do you put that? Where do you store that? How many copies do you have to have? Because some medical things you have to have the actual copy. They will not take a uh, copy. You need to have a real copy, the original. So we're going to talk about a few of these things, and then you can follow up with your representatives, your agencies, in your local areas. Number one, insurance cards and identification. Of course, you can have copies of that. Okay. The first section of your packet should hold a copy of your identification, such as a copy of your driver's license, or in the case of my mom, a identification card, a ID card with a photo ID. Next, you should include copies of your insurance cards. Your health insurance cards are vital. However, you may also want to include your auto or and homeowners policies and contact information just in case the incident involves these entities. What if something happens in the home, um, with the home? So that's why you would need that particular type of information. Medications. I know I'm constantly those little attachments you get with it, I keep them to the side and I keep saying, I'm going to go through them, or I stick them on a piece of paper. So at least they're all right there. But to have it, I have it on a digital file. I make changes to the dosages that are there. But if something happens to me, who's going to know to go in and pull that? I need to print that off on a regular basis as changes are made. Um, Allergies, knowing what kind of allergies that I have or that your loved one has or a friend has, to alert the physician to any kind of information. And of course, a lot of things are electronic now. But again, do you have access? During that episode last week when we were at the hospital, um, I called the um, company regarding just to ask a technical question, and they were saying that I didn't have access. You guys remember that? And I'm like, I just want to ask you a question about your device. I'm not asking any kind of medical information, but having worked that out before the crisis is happening is really important. So again, I still have some things to work on. Of course, the holiday was coming up and things like that, but these things need to be taken care of. Um, a list of physicians with the phone numbers. I have a spreadsheet. Again, I have it in my computer. I need to print it out. And even I need to put the last date that we were there in service, because if you no longer go to a doctor, it's a mute point if you have them on your spreadsheet and you're not using them anymore. So keeping it updated. Let's see. Mm, medical conditions. Now, I have attached a link somewhere, side, down, up, of what I typed in here. And while you can go to anybody, and of course, the Amazon is always there for you, or wherever you want to get it from. I know a couple of friends said they go to Etsy and things like that, but you can get those medical devices. And before, it used to always be for if you're diabetic, have heart conditions and things like that. You either wear a necklace or a bracelet or something. Everybody has them. You can find them anywhere. It's just what kind of cost you want to have. The thing is to have it on the person when the event is happening, of which I did not when I had this packet. I've gone through the packet and I have some things, um, and one of you can keep in your wallet is I'm in need. Okay, so please help me. I care for a person with dementia. Call someone for help. This is if something happens to me. Um, and then they also have the card. I'm trying to see. I think I have taken it out. The card that you can pass to someone, that if if I'm somewhere and let's say my mother is having an episode or something, and I don't want to be like, oh, she has dementia, I can pass them this. Let's see where we can bring it up. The person I am with has dementia or Alzheimer's. They're going to be expected, they do some uh, unexpected things. They might be acting differently. That's what's going on. Because we are not a compassionate society anymore. Let's just face it. We just aren't. We're very self. Would I say selfish? I don't know if I would say selfish, but we are self-absorbed. That would be a good way to put it. We're very self-absorbed. Um, when you're traveling, pay attention to how many people have a actual conversation with a person sitting right there versus what? FaceTime or talking on a video on their phone out loud. Like we have headsets and earbuds, but we don't talk to people who are sitting right there with us anymore. I mean, even to talk about the football, I guess they did talk about the different conventions that were going on. Not going to change my life, but whatever. Okay, let's go on. Legal paperwork, including medical directives. This includes do not resuscitate or DNRs. Most forms, we talked about that, which are the medical orders, living will, advance directives, medical directives, healthcare power of attorney. We're going to talk about that. And even durable power of attorney. In the event, that's the the money piece. In the event of an emergency, people assisting with decision making will need quick and easy access to the paperwork to ensure that your needs are fulfilled in the means you desire and by the person you designated to provide for your wishes. That's a lot to happen in a little bit of time. And I added that caveat, if the person were to die in that moment and you choose to have body parts, as I shared with our friends in Ohio, um, donated to science, that has to happen like in a very short amount of time in order for the cadaver parts to be utilized. So I'm not prepared. I'm just going to say that. I'm not prepared, but that's something up until now we're working on. So that is something on my list to get done. I have a birthday next week. And so by the time this year's out, I plan to have at least a template in place, even if it's not all put together, but it's something that we all have to do. And we typically just don't get it done. And people fight over stuff um, when the person is gone or if they're in a capacity that they cannot make decisions for themselves. Yeah, mama said, daddy said, they ain't say none of that. Write it down, get it notarized. Um, okay, let's keep going. Number 7, most recent lab work. If you're in the midst of a health issue, having the most recent lab work quickly accessible can assist treating physicians compare historical information to current data and make the best decision to treat the ailment you have. Yeah. Um, when mom, when they uh, contacted me, yes, I had access to the Dexcom and I have it on my phone and I can see what's going on. But because the medication that I administered to her, it was taking her on a long ride back to normal. And so having that data, I knew what her normal was, and I knew how to um, bring her back out of it, but I wasn't there. And so somebody else did not know. And because it was taking so long, it was causing some concern, as it should. And I am so grateful that this whole incident happened and that we were able to come out of it because it's a learning experience, which is what I'm sharing with you. Emergency contact telephone list. Include a list of important people to contact with their contact number. Make sure the phone number is working. As a teacher, it was always fun. You go on a field trip and something happens and the phone ain't even operable. Keep the numbers up to date. In this electronic age, many people rely on information in cell phones to contact others. However, there may be a loss of power, missing phone in an incident or accident, or a time that a person cannot use a cell phone. Be safe, be informed, have the list. Yeah. And I welcome your insight as to where to put that list in that moment. Right? Back in the day, we used to know all the phone numbers of people on the street where you had that key because you got locked out the house. Who remembers numbers like that? Who still lives or has somebody close by? So that's a community. So, items of note when creating a file, consider who will be using the information. Your family, friends, a medical personnel will use this information to give life sustaining treatment you need. While it does not matter if it is prettily, doesn't have to be all pretty organized, it does have to be accessible. All right. The best plan is to have the information separated with tabs or at least include a cover sheet indicating the order of the information in the notebook, the folder, or whatever. The medical emergency notebook folder is worthless if no one knows you have it or where it's located. Yes, it is difficult to have a conversation about the what might happen. What if I am in a car accident? What if I have a heart attack? What if the unexpected occurs? However, you should educate your family, the decision makers, to have the information you need to respect your wishes or the wishes of the loved one. It's not the time to be having an argument. Have the conversation. Creating this file is not a once and done. It's not a one and done. It's a living document, like no pun intended, but it is. Each time there's a change to your medical history or a change in your medication, you need to update the folder, the notebook. Make sure the packet has the most recently updated information, or it can become dangerous. Using the office visit summary from your medical appointment as the date update is a best practice. Again, I have all of those all sit and I keep stacking them on top of one another. I need to three-hole punch them and put them in a binder and then take out the old ones because you don't really need the old ones. Okay. Lastly, people find the need for more than one copy of their emergency medical packet. Some people keep a copy in their car. These little folders are wonderful. You can get them. Try to get the more rigorous ones because the cheap ones will split open. Been there, done that. But if you get these, and I like that this one is red because it brings attention to the information that's contained in there. And I guess if we start this revolution of having those red ones, then it would bring attention if emergency personnel see that seat back um, of the information so that it is available for emergencies if people see that can see that information. All right. Um, Yes, it's a hassle to make copies of your medication list each time you see the doctor, but it can save your life. It will save vital time when the right information is in the right person's hands. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is share with you the questions that the person gave back. My biggest concern was I could not access my mother when she was delivered on the in the ambulance at the hospital. I was sitting in the waiting room. I felt very useless at that point because what are they saying to her? She doesn't understand what you're saying, and she's having a diabetic um, crisis. So, as a power of attorney, here's what was shared with me. Okay. And I've already gone over the other information that she sent, but it says always have a copy of your POA and your healthcare POA paperwork with you. I did not. The medical emergency packet information, this is what she gave me. I gave you when we first met, can provide you with the list of the vital tools. And I just went over those with you to allow you to be the one to communicate with medical staff during a crisis. And then that was the list that she included. Anytime your mother is transferred or your loved one is transferred via EMS, insist on writing with her due to her diagnosis with the mild cognitive impairment, or drive her there yourself if that's something that you can do in the moment. Talk to the EMS driver, get the number of the van, watch for them by standing outside the emergency room to see when the vehicle arrives. Now, in my situation, they have two different entrances. So I guess I could have walked around, but I don't know. I didn't try it, but now I do. Be bossy, pushy, assertive, whatever term you prefer to use. While medical staff do not normally mean to exclude family, they are overworked, understaffed, and they do not always think through the next steps for each situation that they are managing at the time. Say, I will wait here while you get a status check. So I guess I was trying to do that, but I didn't have that direct wording to deal with that in that moment. So I was assertive, but the one I was talking to was not the one I should have been talking to. And it's okay. I learned. Repeat to the medical staff at each juncture that your loved one, in this case, my mom, has dementia, or she, in the state that she was in, she did not know what was going on and needs her representative with her, that being me. Insist upon the care that you feel she needs. That's well, I don't want to say a no brainer, but you know, don't be afraid to mention legal representation or medical liability if you are not included. That's when I did ask for the patient services, which I'm going to check my emails because I know I have not received anything, but I will check because sometimes it could have ended up in the spam. If you are told you just missed the doctor, which is what happened to me, let them know you will wait, not leave your mom lot leave with your mom and thus take up a room until the doctor comes back. I like that one. She was fine. She was in a room, but I like the fact that they said have the doctor come back because I had to wait for him to finish his round. No, you go find him and he needs to talk to me so I can get an update of what's going on. And that's also why I accompany her to each and every one of her appointments, because we're beyond the point of her being able to handle that. I have a friend who is um, not included. Her mom is still in that denial state of under of that she is having some issues. She's not making very uh, good decisions, and she will not give her daughter access to the information. And so, like, I guess that's the next tackle. What do you do in that state? Because if something happens, she has no idea where her stuff is, who none of this information that I'm going over with you. So I do share it with her, but what do you do? So I'm grateful that my stuff is coming together. Is it where I want it to be? Nope. But I'm aware of it and I know what needs to happen. And then yeah, reinforce what that you need the information, since your loved one will not remember what was told. Can they even process that information? Or they might be hearing it and nodding their head, but they have no idea what's going on. So you get sort of kind of one of those bobbleheads, right? Many people are getting life alert bracelets, and that's what I was sharing with you all for their loved ones. Because in talking with my sister after this whole event happened, I thought, well, she could have had one of those on, but it didn't negate the fact that I had messed up with the medication. And so it's okay, but at least they know how to deal with it. They have them for lots of different things, for dementia, major allergies to different foods. Some people can't have seafood, some people can't have mushrooms, avocados, all kinds of different allergies that people have. And so the medical alert or bracelet or necklace or something I mean, dogs have more information on their doggone tags than adults do. My next door neighbor back at home, his dog is, because he's still alive, diabetic, and he is now blind. He has a tag that states that information on there. And then that's the link that was attached. And then I found this when I went to, it's called, and it might be the same one. Let's see, medicalalert.org. And so this is some organization. I'm not advocating for them. I'm just providing some information that happened to have crossed it. But they said recommended for individuals with heart conditions, diabetes, allergies, dementia, epilepsy, and all everyday emergencies. And I know we didn't have any children that wore them. Like if they had the EpiPen or something like that, they needed that if they got stung by a bee or anything like that. But, as I'm learning this and hearing this information, that's something that um, could be provided. And that might be something to do. Have the children wear that rather than just in the files knowing. Of course, it goes into all kind of HIPAA and all that stuff. But I mean, if the teacher should be available, but if they are not, they need to have access to that information right away. So I was trying to pull out this. Oh, here is the sticky. You put it on your window. Okay, let's find the sweet spot. Okay, person may be in this vehicle. Take extra precautions because people are at different places. Okay, it says should be in the driver's wallet. So you got to put it in your wallet. Okay. And then the other information, CARE stands for Caregiver Alternatives to Running on Empty. So Project CARE. I'm not sure that that can be done because we always are running. So probably a lot of times we on empty. The light hasn't come on yet, but sometimes. So that's what I have for you today. The next time I'm with you, I'll talk about the parts of the brain again with you. And just take care of yourselves. Just before I did this, which made me come and do this, is I was feeling sort of kind of in a space. And so I sat in silence and then I said, let me go and help someone else or serve someone else because that makes me feel that much better if I can offer some information for you. And I have a little friend that brought a little smile to my face. And it is, I have to put his batteries in him. I don't know what it is, but you put it around your neck. And when you turn him on, he sort of vibrates around your neck. So here's my little friend. Isn't he funny looking? And so you put him around your neck and you press his button and then he so I need to put some yeah, he's sort of funny looking. Some creature. You know me. I'm always silly. So he's a little fun creature. All right, till next time. Y'all have a wonderful day, wonderful holiday um, on your Labor Day. Have a great week, y'all. Peace.